Hello, everybody, and welcome. Today, I'm trying something a little bit new on the channel. I'm actually going to be doing an interview with our brand new NAIC champion, Patrick Connors. I watched Patrick win NAIC, and it was one of the most incredible runs I've ever really seen in VGC, maybe the most incredible underdog story I've seen. And so I wanted to interview him and just to get to know him a little bit better because he had such an incredible run and also was just so awesome in all the interviews that I saw of you. And so, Patrick, I'm really excited for you to join me here today, and welcome to the channel.
I'm happy to be here. I'm Patrick Connors. I guess most of you got to know me at NAIC. I'm a little bit into like my personal life. I'm from Jacksonville, Florida, but I ended up moving to Orlando, Florida for school for undergrad. I went to UCF, graduated there in a little under 3 years. And then I'm in my second year of law school, so currently just juggling law school and the Pokemon hobby alongside some other things. So yeah, that's just a little bit about me. That's pretty much my whole life is just school and Pokemon.
I love that. I think one of the most impressive things that I learned about you while watching you win NAIC is I believe this is only your second season of playing VGC. And so obviously NAIC is one of the most difficult tournaments to win, and you only started playing pretty recently. So would love to hear a little bit about how you got started in VGC, what your Pokemon journey has been in general outside of VGC, and just, yeah, your general kind of journey with Pokemon overall.
So I started watching VGC and kind of getting into the concept of competitive Pokemon right around the start of COVID. So I started watching the Players Cup tournaments and just kind of, dipping my feet into competitive Pokemon by playing Battle Stadium, borrowing rental codes, and just kind of getting used to, learning the basics of Pokemon like stats, EV training, IVs, natures, all the kind of baseline things about Pokemon. But then I think it was 2022. I found out that the in-person circuit was going to start back up, and at the time there was an Orlando regional announced. So I started practicing, started playing. I think in Series 12 in tournaments, and got used to playing in tournaments. Had some okay results, nothing too crazy. But then because of Florida's local rules about COVID and just general mask protocols. We had our Orlando regionals for 2022 canceled pretty early on,
Yeah.
so I was able to make my first official tournament debut until Orlando 2023, which was I think in February of that year. But I knew once Scarlet and Violet got started that I really wanted to grind really hard and play a lot of Pokemon. So I started entering limitless tournaments probably twice a week. Playing as much Pokemon as I could, grinding on Showdown, trying to prep for my first Orlando regionals. I had my first few like Limitless Tour wins, and in Scarlet and Violet, I picked up some pretty. I think my best success early on was Series B.
Mm.
I was running like a Gothitelle Dozo team. I won a couple tours with that, and ended up going to Orlando regionals. In like I said in February, and I went 8-2, which was a really good performance for my first regional. But I was pretty frustrated because at the time they didn't have the day two Swiss system. I think it was the last tournament without the day
That's
two
right.
Swiss system.
Yeah.
Yep. So I went 8-2, bubbled out at 36. Was really
Oh,
upset with that, but I had a big chip on my shoulder. I really wanted to like improve and like I felt like if I went day two, then I would have had a deep run. I went to NAIC that year, and I was humbled. I didn't do too well. I went 5-3 that season. Those were the only two majors that I got to attend.
yeah.
But yeah. So right after that, the local scenes also started up. I think it was in May or right before I guess NAIC. Attended a few locals, and those were really interesting. I started meeting people in the Florida community. Started like developing some friendships in the community. And also got my first like in-person tournament when I won a PC. I think I won the last Florida PC of the season. So that was really motivating going into the 2024 season, which was I guess the season where I really wanted to kind of make my mark if I could. But I also knew that just juggling law school and being busy with my 1L year, there wasn't going to be as much time for Pokemon as there was in my last year of
Totally.
undergrad. So I kind of knew that I was only going to be able to attend two majors, just like the year before. It was going to be Orlando Regionals and NAIC. But I wanted to make sure for both of those tournaments to give my all, put as much prep as I could into them. And they weren't really too far apart. Orlando was in April, NAIC was in June. So I spent a lot of the early year just trying to go to as many locals as I could in the Florida area, and also playing Showdown. But I stopped playing a lot of Limitless at the time because Limitless takes so much time
Mm-hmm.
to play those tournaments, and again juggling the first year of law school. So started practicing for Orlando regionals. Had a pretty good season with locals. I ended up winning, I think, 3 locals in the season, and
Nice.
I never missed cut in any of our locals either. So every single event I attended in the 2023 and 2024 season, including the global challenges, I got points out of. So going into like NAIC, I was feeling really proud of myself, really happy that in my sophomore season I had like I think it was 312 points going in without only attending one major. Um, and yeah, I think that's kind of where I was at, but I was a little disappointed with my Orlando run. Because like I said, in the year prior, went 8-2, felt like I could have made a deep run in day two. But I went 7-2. I made day two for the first time at Orlando this season. But I really bombed my day two. I went 9-6.
Mm-hmm.
I was honestly just outclassed by a lot of the players there. So I think going in NAIC, I had a really I had to try to reinvent myself, have a significant like change in the way I approached the game, the way I thought of the game,
Totally.
and I think it paid off. Obviously,
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that. I mean, NAIC obviously a huge tournament. I think this was the biggest NAIC ever, and so I think a lot of people coming into NIC, they're like, oh, like I want to win, or like, oh, I just need 100 points to qualify for the World Championships. You're coming in your sophomore season, and like you mentioned, you went to the NIC last year and maybe didn't do as well as you wanted to. So, yeah, what was like the mindset coming into NAIC this year? Was the goal to qualify for Worlds? Was it to just do as well as possible? What were you thinking coming into this big tournament?
I guess it was kind of it was a lot of feelings.
Yeah.
I think I believe deep down if I had good matchups and I was on my game, I could make top 16. I really did believe that going in. And I told like I was talking to my friends and I was like, I thought I was going to go 7-2, and I felt
Mm-hmm.
like if I was going to go 7-2, then I was going to repeat Orlando. So my real like goal going in was to kind of go 8-1 day one.
Yeah.
Have a solid day one performance, or 9-0, which was really I think a bit overzealous, but wanted to have a really good day one performance, so I had a lot of confidence going into day two. So I grinded more showdown than I ever have before, and also I started working with people on my teams,
Yeah.
which is something that I think I struggled with early on in VGC, which is I think being open to like criticism from outside sources as well as like working on your teams with people. Being busy with law school kind of like cut into my Pokemon practice, kind of cut into me being able to theory teams or work on lines and stuff like that. So I was lucky enough to have a really good group of friends who would also run my team and send me data and information going into NAIC. So just working with people, working on the team and trying to work on my mentality, work on my confidence, and also work on trying to build a more balanced style of team was my main goal going into NAIC. Because in Orlando regionals, I definitely noticed that the teams that I typically ran before them were very polarizing in their matchups. They were very hyper aggressive, very hyper offensive, and very read heavy. I think I'm pretty good at making reads, but you can only make reads so many times against really good players
Yeah.
where you just fall on your face. Um, so that was my goal after Orlando, was to just try to take a step back and imitate people that I respected, that I'd played against and that I'd seen be successful. So right after Orlando, I started testing Reg G,
Mm-hmm.
and our best Orlando local is Riley Factura. I don't think he needs any introduction, but Riley was like a lot of my inspiration going into Reg G, which is use the same team and get really good at the same team.
Yeah.
So I started Ice Horse early in the format, and just kept on trying to optimize and innovate and practice as much with Ice Horse as possible, but not kind of fall into the trap of building it in a way that was, I think, not even or like neutral in a lot of teams, not trying to like make really polarizing matchups. So that was kind of my goal going into NAIC, was feel confident about my team, feel like I can win if I just outplay my opponent, if I and allow myself to make mistakes, allow myself to not be perfect with my team, and to sometimes win matches just because I'm allowed to make more mistakes, or I'm allowed to kind of fall back on just having really good pieces that are really good at just kind of resetting the board and helping you reposition. And yeah, that was my main goal going into NAIC, was just changing my mentality, accepting help from other people, changing my practice, and like imitating people that I really respected, really good players that I saw do well consistently, and just trying to believe in myself and believe that even though I've like not done as well or like fell short of my expectations in the two times after my first major,
Yeah.
that I could make a deep run as long as I did the right things, and I kind of just went in as prepared as possible.
I love that. I think there are a bunch of follow up questions I want to ask. The first is kind of
Mhm.
regarding your team. Like you mentioned, it sounds like you'd been practicing with Calyrex Ice Rider specifically. This is a format where there are a lot of restricted Pokemon that are viable, and so I'm curious, like, what the iterations of the Calyrex Ice Rider team look like when you finalize your team, and then specifically, I want to talk about the Rillaboom that you had on your team. I think a lot of the Calyrex Ice Rider comps that look similar to yours have Amoonguss over Rillaboom, but Rillaboom seemed like played a huge role on your composition, allowing you for this double fake out cycling like you had with Rillaboom and Incineroar. So yeah, those are all things that I'm a little bit curious about.
Okay, so I think at the very beginning of Reg G, the team didn't resemble anything it looks like right
Mm.
now. At least I guess it kind of did, but really didn't. It was the Calyrex, Rillaboom, Tinglu, Archaludon, Pelipper,
Mm.
Urshifu, and what was that? How many Pokemon was that?
I think
Was
you.
that six?
Yeah, that sounded like six.
Yeah, that sounds like six. That was the original six that we started testing. And the kind of theory was Archaludon would help in the mirror or against like other rain teams. And electric coverage is really good with ice coverage. So obviously, Steel Dragon's really good defensive typing,
Mm-hmm.
and Electric's really good complementary coverage to ice. So that was the original core we kind of developed, was Pelipper, Ice Rider, and Archaludon. We threw Tinglu to patch up the CSR matchup. Rillaboom was to beat Miraidon teams that we kind of anticipated would eventually be good.
Yeah.
I didn't expect it to win such an early regional at Indy, but Rillaboom was there to patch up that, and then and yeah, just the Rain Core, Urshifu and Pelipper to kind of patch up the Will-O-Wisp Pokemon like Incin that you're so afraid of with Calyrex Ice Rider. And also, I love Urshifu. I've used Urshifu, I think, on every single team almost this season, and I'm really comfortable using that piece. So Urshifu was kind of non-negotiable for me. So yeah, that was the first version of the team. I wasn't able to go to Indianapolis, but my friend that I was working on the team with landed was. So he went to Indianapolis, went 4-5. He said that from his experience, he could have won a lot more than he did, but just kind of was outplayed and felt like certain pieces were a little bit too passive or hard to reposition, like the Archaludon and the Tinglu. So we kind of had the next idea of switching to like a slow meadow plate Rillaboom to beat the Necrozma Psy Spam teams, and then an AV Raging Bolt that we saw on Leonard Kraft's ND team that my friend also faced and thought was really good. So from that point, we kind of had a really like interesting switch. So we switched our Rillaboom from AV to the Meadow Plate. We switched Tinglu to Incin, the fast taunt Incin that was popular at the
Yeah.
time. And then we switched to AV Raging Bolt, which is the exact six that we have now. And it was good, pretty good initially. But I think that we were using the wrong sets and had the wrong idea of how to like play the team. I think we didn't lean enough into the balance mode of the team, and it was kind of easy to get run over by these super offensive teams that started becoming popular after Indy, like the Miraidon team and
Yeah.
eventually the Calyrex Shadow teams. So we kind of had a like crisis. We started testing things like Terra Normal Goldango, started trying Tinglu again.
Yeah.
We tried Amoonguss as well, but for the most part, we always felt like I refer to it as the Ryan Haig six because that's what I think of whenever I think of the Calyrex Amoonguss version of our team.
Yeah.
I think of the Haig six. We tested the Hague system, but we also felt like it was just too slow and too passive into a lot of like the teams that started picking up after Stockholm and stuff like that, like the uh, the Zom teams and the Calric Shadow teams again. And just other teams like Amoongus was really good, but a lot of things respected it. Ran Goggles and Terra Grass, and it was still kind of bad into Miraidon with Amoongus. So we talked about it. We discussed the team, and we both kind of came to the conclusion that we wanted to retest Rillaboom, but instead of running the slower Rillaboom we were running before to underspeed like Indeedee and like guarantee underspeed Indeedee, because we were running zero speed IVs for some reason. We switched to a faster Rillaboom to outspeed the timid Ursalunas that were popular on Rajan's team. And then we switched AV so it could soak up hits. And then we stuck with Sash Pelipper. We didn't want to run Helping Hand over Protect because we actually found we were clicking Protect on Pelipper as much as we were clicking Wide Guard. The
Yeah.
option to have both of them was really nice, even though there's some anti-synergy there. Coaching Urshifu was something we were always on. I think we were on that in April. We were a little ahead of the curve with the coaching Urshifu set, so we had a lot of time to practice that. We stuck with Terra Water as well because the burst damage is really good against CSR. To have Terra Water, just because if you can position your board state correctly, you can just OHKO CSR and Rain with Terra Water, even the Citrus Berry variants. Um, so we kept the Terra Water. The Ensign was like a big switch towards the end that I kind of suggested. We struggled a lot with Zom. So the original like team we ran, I think about 3 weeks before NAIC was the same Caloric set, same Urshifu set, same Pelipper set, same Rillaboom set, except it was Terra Fire Rillaboom.
Mm.
And then we were running Terra Electric Raging Bolt, and we were running Terra Grass Fast Taunt Ensign. And we both like talked about it. We couldn't like consistently beat Zoms if they were like halfway decent, like at all. And we tried making the team as like neutral and everything as possible. So we switched to a slow Ensign, and just kind of accepted we were always going to lose like speed ties against Ensign. And we invested in bulk, added Terra Ghost to have a decent matchup into the Zamazenta, and we also added Terra Fairy Raging Bolt for the same reason, because there was a couple sets, especially against like the Moltres Zamazenta teams with Wide Guard, that they were actually pretty scared to body press the Ensign whenever body press the Ensign.
Yeah.
So you're able to get Wisps up and still Terra Fairy and resist the body press with the Wisp up. And against like the core of like Moltres, Latios, Ensign, Zamazenta, or Fluttermane, those teams often run. Fairy Bolt can really like walk all over them, especially if you can just get this one burn on Zamazenta. So we made those adjustments towards the end. The Terra Fairy Bolt into Zom, which also helped with the Miraidon matchup. It made them play some mind games. It made them a little scared to click Draco. And then the Terra Ghost Ensign was good for more than Zamazenta, but after we switched to the slow, bulkier Ensign with Terra Ghost, we actually started beating Zamazenta, I think, almost 3/4 of the time. It became a really good matchup for us, which is I think very unusual for Ice Rider players. And then we were pretty set on the team. I think about 2 weeks out, we were both grinding Showdown. Ended up getting I think 3 accounts into the top 100 of Showdown with the team. Had some really good practice there, because that was just following our finals. And then Smeargle CSR started popping up on Showdown. That terrified me. And we never Terra'd Rillaboom anyway, so we just switched to Terra Normal Rillaboom for the Smeargle CSR matchup. And that was the last change we made. And we kind of said that as long as we pilot the team well, and I don't think we really need to dodge any matchup specifically. I think any matchup can be outplayed with this team. That we were going to have at least a good run. I think I believed, and my team building partner Landon also believed that either of us could day 2 as long as we piloted the team right. And it ended up going really well. I didn't drop a game in a best of 3 until my 5th round. So
Wow.
I went 8-0 for the first 4 rounds. I got 2-0'd by Justin Knox in round 5. And then I believe I also won out the rest of the day, except for round 9 where I won in 3. But yeah, day 1 was really dominant. There was almost every set was a 2-0. So that was really reassuring as well going into day two.
Yeah, I mean, so much amazing insight here. I think like hearing you talk about all of this is like mind blowing to me as someone, it's only your second season. You're like talking about adjusting to the meta and kind of making adaptations as tournaments pop up. It's like it just is so smart. And I think hearing about your prep process, hearing like you had your team locked in even like kind of 2 weeks before the tournament is impressive in itself, because I think even a lot of high level players, they scramble, they don't even know what team they're going to use until like the day before the event. And so to me, like there are a couple of really big insights from what you just said. The first being that, you kind of had this idea of a team, you iterated a lot on it, you kind of adapted it as the metagame developed, and you also kind of had it locked in, and you were looking for a team that had relatively neutral matchups, it sounds like, across the board. And in a format where there's so much chaos, so many restricted Pokemon you can go up against, I think that to me sounds like a really, really smart strategy. And so, then going into NAIC, like you said, you kind of cruised through day one. So you, at that point, it sounds like, you had accomplished a lot already. What were you thinking going into day two after dominating day one?
Day two is interesting. I think I still had that kind of like fear that I would bomb NAIC day two like I did Orlando day
Yeah,
two. But I had a really big advantage, I think, going into day two, which is that I was 8-1. So I had a decent chance of cutting if I just went 4-2 in day two. And
exactly.
it's, if you put it in that perspective, 4-2 doesn't sound that bad.
Yeah.
It's like you're going to be playing really good players, but 4-2 isn't that high of an ask. So the main thing I did is when I got done with day one, instead of doing what I did at Orlando, which is just kind of like, go out with friends, chill out, not really care about day two, I actually studied all the 8-1 teams.
Wow.
I had like rudimentary lines into all of them, which I think made me feel a lot more comfortable going to day two. So like I think my first few rounds of day two, I knew the exact teams that my opponents were running before I sat down with them. Like I didn't have to look it up or anything, and that made me feel really confident like in my matchup. And I also felt like being that no one knew who I was, I don't think anybody stressed about my team. It
Mm,
wasn't like I was a big name that people were looking at. They probably didn't review my team that hard.
yeah.
So I felt like I also had like a bit of a knowledge advantage going into day two as someone that wasn't known, that I knew more about their teams than I did. And I think that also made me feel really confident and comfortable going into the sets.
Amazing. And then obviously ended up working out pretty well. You end up
Yeah.
making top 8 in the tournament. And so I think one thing that I am always interested in is, like converting top cut into a victory. These are some of the hardest matches you're going to play. You're up against really, really good opponents, and you were able to win the entire tournament. So what was it like playing through that top 8 and top 4? Obviously, finals is on a separate day, but you advanced immediately from day 2 into top cut. Were you stressed? Were you tired? What was like kind of the mentality going into a top 8?
In a weird way, I wasn't like stressed or tired. I was very excited.
Yeah,
Like I was very ready to play Pokemon.
love that.
And I really didn't feel like, again, as being someone that's newer and not having expectations to even cut, I felt like, if I lost, 2-0 in any of those sets, I don't think it mattered. It's like I got some respect out of this. Like people were gonna look at me and say, "Oh, they top eighted NAIC." So I felt like every set I only had like things to win. I didn't feel like I
Mm,
put any pressure on myself. I felt like every win was just another opportunity to kind of put myself out there, show off my playing skills, and it felt exciting. It felt like I was given an opportunity that I really wanted in my first regional. So I don't think I really felt that nervous going into it. Afterwards, I felt like absolutely like sick to my stomach, anxious because I realized what just happened.
yeah,
But in the moment, I think I just had like adrenaline. I had the excitement of competing. So it felt like really, really good going in. But yeah, afterwards, I think the weight of it all hit me. And
totally.
also, I knew the teams going into, top eight. I saw Justin Tang play someone on a side TV, and he was running the same thing as Shiliang, so I knew Shiliang's team pretty well. Also had like a general idea of Shiliang's sets as well from that set that I saw Justin Tang play on a side TV. So I felt like pretty. I also felt like I had a knowledge advantage going into top eight against Shiliang. It didn't. It also helped that I got pretty lucky with Perez as well.
Mm.
But I did feel like I had that going to top eight, which made me feel confident. And then top four, I also feel like I got really lucky with what I rolled in top four. I got a matchup, in my opinion, that's really good for me,
Mm-hmm.
which is the basic like Miraidon 6 that was developed recently, which
Yeah.
is like the Chi-Yu, Darkfu, Hands, Miraidon, Farigiraf, I don't remember what the sixth was. Whimsicott.
Yeah.
They just never come to that matchup. Whimsicott doesn't. Um, but yeah, I played that matchup so many times. I knew my lines and had like a general idea of how I wanted to play into it. So I felt really comfortable going into that matchup, even if it wasn't the top four of a regional. And I also think that a lot of players aren't ready to play Ice Horse with Rillaboom, at
Yeah,
least at that time. So it messed up
100%.
a lot of how the Miraidon player was playing into the Rillaboom. Like you could see they were confused or surprised by like certain calcs, like my Ice Rider surviving Terra Electric, Electro Drift, things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. It's really cool hearing that mentality because I think Top Cut is like one of the most stressful places to be in, and hearing you kind of just go in with no regrets and just kind of with the mentality of I have nothing to lose, I have everything to gain, and using kind of that underdog advantage makes a ton of sense to me. And so obviously you kind of place beat some really interesting matchups in top 8 and top 4, and then you're finally in the finals, and you have a whole night to prep for the finals, and so you're up against Aurelian, who is one of the most accomplished players this season, having made multiple finals, and I think a lot of people saw as a heavy favorite to win NAIC, and so curious what your kind of preparation process was on Saturday night going into Sunday. How are you feeling? And then let's talk about the finals a little bit.
So I was fanning a little bit because I've seen Aurelian play all of their finals. Aurelian's such a talented player, like actually such a good player. But like I said, I'd seen them play a lot, so I had an idea of how Aurelian played. But I knew like going into Saturday night, same kind of thing I did day two or right before day two. I didn't go out. I made sure to like try to be disciplined and focus on the next day. But I also knew that I didn't want to do any practice sets, so I didn't play any showdown going into finals
Wow.
because, out of respect for Aurelian, even though I had people offering to do sets that were very good players, I didn't think any of them were going to play like Aurelian.
Yeah.
And even the replays they sent me, I feel like I was going to fall into the trap of not playing Aurelian, but playing like the people who are playing Aurelian's team.
Totally.
So I didn't run any practice sets because I knew that would probably give me, I guess, a diluted idea of how Aurelian was going to play.
Yeah.
So I focused really on just VOD review. So the first thing I did was review myself. I watched all my VODs on stream, seeing if I could find any of my side streams that were also recorded, that I knew were recorded, seeing if I could find any habits in them. So Saturday night, I watched my games. I took notes of like habits and what I relied on in those games, which I really noticed that I heavily rely on Urshifu a lot. And I think that was a very glaring weakness of my play is that I can be a little impatient with game plans, and I can be really like relying on certain pieces. So I know like in all of the Terapagos games that I played, except for Aurelian's, I would always lead Urshifu plus something, whether it was Fake Out or Calyrex Ice. And I knew that Aurelian was going to expect me to probably bring Urshifu. So I wanted to kind of play outside of Aurelian's expectations of myself before I started developing a game plan of how I was going to beat Aurelian. So that was my first big step Saturday, was just like looking at myself, trying to find flaws in my play and seeing like what Aurelian thought that they could probably take advantage of in my play and my style. So that was my first step in trying to develop a game plan. And then after that, I just watched Aurelian play the matches that they played. I believe they had 3 or 4 sets that I was able to view. The ones that really like mattered to me were the ones against Burns and the ones against Audi, where they were running Ice Rider into Aurelian.
Yeah.
And Aurelian had a like very obvious habit themselves of running Grimmsnarl always in the lead against Ice Horse. Usually Grimmsnarl Urshifu, but I also kind of knew that the reason they probably like Grimmsnarl Urshifu was to cover for the Terra Fire on the like Calyrex, which I wasn't Terra Fire, so I didn't really expect Urshifu that much. But I also know Urshifu's terrifying, so I wanted to respect it still.
Yeah.
So I kind of had the idea that I didn't think Aurelian was going to like be too self-critical of themselves, just because they're such like a good player. They deserve to be confident, and I don't think they were going to like look at themselves and break free of their own habits, try to get an advantage against me, because Aurelian was the favorite going in, and they deserve to be the favorite. They're an incredible player. But I also think that the fact that they like also probably perceive themselves as the favorite, and they, probably didn't see me as someone that was as good as them, which is valid. They shouldn't. I knew they were going to probably just fall back in the same habits that they had in the earlier days. So I kind of used again that like that underdog or that kind of like newcomer mentality to my advantage. I was self-critical, and I wanted to I really wanted to like subvert Aurelian's expectations, as well as everybody else who like sent me replays of them playing the matchup, because I had some Florida players and other good players send me replays of how they expected like the matchup to play, like on Showdown they played the matchup, um, and I watched those and I thought to myself like, first off, I don't think any of you know how Aurelian plays as well as you think you do,
Yeah.
and also same with me. I think they probably knew how I played very well, or they expect me to be a linear player, and they also led according to like what I expected from myself or what I thought Aurelian would expect from me. So going into like the first match of finals, I expected either Hans Grimmsnarl or Fluttermane Grimmsnarl as the lead.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly Ursh Grimmsnarl just because that's what they led against the other Ice Riders. So I wanted to make sure I respected that as well.
Yeah.
So I knew that no matter what they led, I was always going to fake out Grimmsnarl and Thunderbolt, so I put it in glide range.
Mm-hmm.
And they did lead Grimmsnarl, and they let me get off the fake out Thunderbolt, put it in glide range. And from there, I just kind of played Pokemon. I positioned around the Terapagos, was resetting my fake outs really well. Don't think I risked much that game one. I
Yeah.
played really after I got that early advantage, that quick chip on Grimmsnarl and Fluttermane, I was able to just kind of reposition my defensive pieces and gain a really like good advantage. Never let Terapagos get off the move game one, and I think that made Aurelian a bit panicked going into game two. And I played the same way going into game two. Took the loss pretty handedly. Aurelian beat me really well, but I also actually felt really good seeing Aurelian play like that,
Yeah.
because in my mind, I wasn't seeing Aurelian play like Aurelian. I was seeing Aurelian play like I do,
Mm.
which is like making reads and playing like a very aggressive game style that I usually play and that I kind of showed in my stream matches. So going into set three, I expected more of the same because Aurelian beat me so handedly in game two with that play style. So I went into game three and knew that I was trying to bait Terapagos into Terra Starstorming. That's all I wanted. I wanted to get Pelipper on the field.
Yeah.
So I Terra Watered that turn one, left that obvious like that super effective hit on the table, and also wanted to make sure I put Terapagos into like Woodhammer if they didn't tear. So that's why I led Rillaboom plus Calyrex that last game, because I didn't think Incid would apply that much pressure
Yeah.
compared to Rillaboom with the immediate burst damage of Woodhammer. So I think that lead was something I actually talked with my best friend about, because I didn't talk with lines either with anybody because I didn't know who I could trust at that time, which is like sounds a little paranoid, but I don't know who has connections to Aurelian. I'm not that like tied into the Pokemon community, so I kept it between me and my closest friend, my ideas and my game plans. And I talked to him and I was like, if I win game one, I think I can 100% like almost guaranteed win the set. Because even if I lose game two, I feel like I can kind of get an idea of how Aurelian wants to win. And once I got an idea of how Aurelian wanted to win, I knew that I had that line that I've tested before in practice against Specs Tarop, which is just kind of setting up the big target on the Calyrex to like just be KO'd immediately, and just repositioning around that and protecting it with Pelipper. And that was really rewarding. It made me feel like I was gonna win, like on like turn three. It made me feel that confidence, and it made Aurelian panic as well.
Yeah.
And they started playing panicked, and like even going for the Thunder Wave, on like instead of foul play into foul play, going for 3 foul plays to take the KO on Calyrex. I think that was panic, but also like expecting me as well to rely on Urshifu whenever my back was against the corner. They were expecting me to probably eat the foul play with an Urshifu switch, because I talked to Aurelian about that afterwards. They really expected me to adjust Urshifu every single game.
Yeah.
That was always my habit, was to always adjust Urshifu. So yeah, I felt really good. Like I felt really good that I was able to analyze my weaknesses and kind of going into finals with that that kind of subversion of what everybody expected from me, and still be able to win even without like what I consider to be my biggest crutch, which is Urshifu, the thing I usually rely on winning for me. So that felt really good, obviously. And yeah, I think the entire finals was kind of played around that like that phantom of Urshifu. That's why they kept bringing booster speed Flutter, even though Hands probably would have been better in most of those matchups, or other pieces, just because they were so scared of Urshifu. And I think that was really nice payoff. That just my kind of self analysis, my like own self criticism led me to winning at the like second highest level, I think, in VGC.
Amazing. Yeah, I mean so much insight there. I think it's so fascinating to hear how like you literally are learning throughout the tournament and fixing your
Yeah,
mistakes leading into the finals and also kind of studying Aurelian. There's so much insight from what you just said. I think one of the things that I found most fascinating was well, game one, it felt really dominant, like you said. It felt like you had the lead advantage. You executed on it right with that turn one. It was clear to me you had a game plan. Game two, Aurelian gets you with that really sneaky, Ghost Terra, and
yeah, and Aurelian also demonstrated that habit as well in other like sets. Aurelian is like a really smart player and knows Terapagos is a Terra hog,
yeah,
and they often like would Terra other things. And respect to them for being really dynamic, because yeah, they really are excellent. But sorry to interrupt.
no, no, totally. Love that
Yeah,
insight. And then I think, game three, you make this huge adjustment of bringing Pelipper, which hadn't come out yet. You get the bait, like you said, and then it works out perfectly. And to me, yeah, once you had switched it in, I was like, oh my God, like that's it. Like it's going to be really, really hard for Aurelian to win. And especially because Aurelian ended up having, I think it was like Chiyu and Flutter in the back instead of
yeah,
hands. And so that was the adjustment they had made in game two. You had saw the Chiyu. And so Pelipper was kind of like the perfect tool to win. And so, yeah, were you confident on bringing Pelipper going into game three? What were you thinking as you made those
that was
adjustments?
yeah, that was always actually my game three plan. If I
Yeah.
won game one, lost game two, I was always going to rely on Pelipper, at least if I thought they were going to lead Grim Throp or Grim Chi. Because either way, I think if I expect one of those two leads into like into what I brought, then I think Pelipper is just like the natural adjustment. It's such a good adjustment. And I'm very happy that I made that adjustment. But
Yeah.
once I kind of had an idea that they won so dominantly in game two, like absolutely wiped the floor with me, that they probably didn't feel a need to adjust. They were just going to bring like the frail pieces who can't eat Glacial Lance in the back. And then, lead Tarop and Grim again. I knew that I could kind of get away with that bait. Or at least I thought I could. Obviously, maybe in another world it wouldn't have worked out like that, but it ended up working out. So
Amazing. Yeah, I think it was one of the smartest adjustments I've seen. And as soon as it hit the field, especially after Trap goes Terran, I was like, oh wow, that's incredible. To me, also one of the most amazing parts of the whole NAIC journey for you is your family. Your dad, of course, was on the stream, and he was a big reason for why I wanted to do this interview as well. Just seeing the love that you guys had for each other, and I know that they actually came and surprised you as well. So yeah,
yeah.
kind of how was that? Like not knowing even that your family was there, and then seeing all of this afterwards and your relationship with them.
So first off, I love my family. I think that's pretty obvious, and they, we're very close. All love each other. See each other as much as we, can as like busy adults. But yeah, I love them. I'm super close to all of them. I kept them all updated with like my entire tournament run. But my family's never been at like a tournament for me, like
Yeah.
for Pokemon at least. Growing up, like my dad was super supportive. Was always at like my sporting events or other events, like even academic competitions that I did. He was always there for all of that. But I think Pokemon for me was like something that I almost felt kind of like embarrassed of, or it wasn't like a legitimate hobby. So I never really like felt like the courage to ask my father to come to one of those
Mm,
things. If that makes any sense. Like I almost felt like it wasn't like a legitimate thing, if that makes any sense, like a legitimate hobby, something to like be proud of, despite loving it as much as I do. Um, but my best friend, I appreciate him so much. He set up everything behind the scenes. Didn't tell me a thing. Planned it all with them. But
wow.
they decided off a whim though. Seeing me go into top eight. My dad apparently, alongside my little brothers, all thought I was going to win for some reason. Don't know why they had that gut instinct, but
They
they
knew.
decided to. Yeah, as soon as I got into top eight, they packed up their bags from Jacksonville, Florida, and they took the drive from Jacksonville to New
Wow.
Orleans to surprise me that night. So they drove throughout the night. My stepmom, my two little brothers, and my dad. Um, and yeah, they came to surprise me on finals. They got there that morning, I think. My best friend helped them like get set up, like help them get in the venue. We borrowed some spectator passes from a couple of my friends who I thought just couldn't attend because they were visiting family in New
Yeah.
Orleans. So they got some last minute spectator passes. And also a couple of my friends that I was a little confused or missing from like the finals audience, I guess were also like keeping them company as well, like showing them around town and like hiding them from me so I didn't see them when I got in like final stage or anything.
Wow.
So yeah, it was a whole elaborate thing that all my friends had to drop on me. So yeah, my family last minute kind of made that sporadic choice to, try to be there for finals, believing that I would win it all. And they decided to surprise me because they could tell how, I guess, how much passion, how much like um like love for the game I felt on stream. They just didn't want to miss it. They didn't want to miss it because they felt like it was going to be a very important thing for me, which it obviously was. But I'm very glad that they kind of saw through my own like self doubt, not thinking it was like a valuable hobby to like be praised or supported, and decided to support me anyways. They really are the best family I could ask for. I love them. They're not perfect, but no one is. But they're as close as I could ask for.
That is so, so beautiful. I think, yeah, it was one of the coolest things. And this NAIC stream in particular was awesome because we had like so many family members, come and talk about their kids that were playing on stream. And so to see, yeah, your dad have been on stream and the amazing words that he had for you, I think was one of the coolest things and one of the coolest stories from this whole tournament.
He's awesome. Yeah, he's great. Also, I forgot to mention, I have four siblings. Two of them are married, have their own lives. My sister was on vacation in Texas, and also left her vacation early to fly to New Orleans to see me.
Wow.
So also shout out to my sister and I know my brother and his wife would have been there, but she was really sick at the time, so she wasn't able to come. But they were like watching me on stream, sending me photos afterwards of them like jumping up and down, cheering me on, and yeah, like all my siblings being there, my dad, my stepmom, really meant like so much to me. It was kind of like, I mean, honestly, I think if I would have lost finals, I would have been equally as happy because I feel like that was probably the first time I ever felt like Pokemon as a hobby for me was like a real thing, if that makes sense. Like it was something to be proud of. So I felt really happy with that.
100%. I love that mentality. But, at the end of the day, you did become NAIC champion. And
I
so
did.
I think, one of the things I want to ask you about is you've only been playing VGC for 2 years and you were able to ascend to, such an amazing accomplishment. So what's your advice to others? It sounds like you have such a good mentality towards the game. Sounds like you have a lot of self-reflection and improvement. And I'm curious, what got you kind of to the first step of where you are and then what brought you to become a champion and what advice would you give to others?
I think my biggest advice for anybody who wants to improve at VGC and wants to do well is that you got to be patient with yourself. You're
Love
gonna
that.
like fall short of your expectations. You're not gonna do as well as you want to. You're gonna miss more moves than you want to. But with every bad run comes a good run, and with every like expectation, there's gonna be some that you fall short of. And there's some that you're gonna surpass. So I really think just being kind to yourself, being patient with yourself, and letting yourself do well when you can do well, and just taking like the opportunities when they come at you is really important. And also, don't stress too much about the things you can't control. Like there's so much about our lives that you can't control going into a tournament.
Yeah.
If you're doing bad because of external circumstances and you do bad at a tournament, don't beat yourself up because you did bad at Pokemon. Like your life, your other priorities come first, and if you put in the work, you have a little bit of luck, and you make sure to keep looking at yourself, being critical and trying to improve and control as much as you can with Pokemon, like your team building decisions, who you surround yourself with, what type of practice you have will make all the difference. So just control what you can control, be kind to yourself, and be patient. I think that's the most important things.
That's so, so beautiful. I think it's, I think it's easy to hear that advice, but it's not easy to follow. And so, yeah, I hope
Oh yeah.
a lot of people listening to this can really take it to heart because I think that's, yeah, so, so well put. And so,
Yeah.
you know,
And no one needs to be perfect either. So I fall short of that all the time. But I keep trying to do it. So that's also just don't expect yourself to be perfect.
100%. Now that you've managed to have this huge accomplishment, you're going to be playing the World Championships. I like coming into NIC, you were at maybe like 300 out of 500 points. You needed a pretty deep run in order to qualify for Worlds, but you did it. You qualified for Worlds, and of course, you won this huge tournament. And so, how are you looking towards approaching this first World Championship that you'll be playing in?
I want to do well, obviously, but
Yeah.
if I don't, like I said, it's my first Worlds. It's a new thing. It's like attending regionals or internats for the first time. I don't know what to expect. I have a lot of learning to do, and I'm probably going to make more mistakes than I want to make. But I'm sure I'll be back. Like I'm sure I'll make another Worlds. So I'm just going to put in the work to do what I have done before. Try to improve in what I probably didn't do as well as I should have at NAIC, and play Pokemon. Just try to play my best Pokemon. But right now, prepping for Worlds, I'm taking a break.
Yeah.
I am like a bit burnt out from Pokemon, so I'm just kind of taking time away from Pokemon, doing some other hobbies, like seeing family, talking to people I haven't talked to enough, prepping for NAIC. So just trying to, focus on the other things. Yeah, that's basically my prep right now. But I know going into starting July or the end of June, I'm gonna start my prep again. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It's a really cool opportunity. I got really lucky. I'm having a world's trip, paid for. I'm bringing my dad as well, which is cool.
Oh, love it.
Yeah, I never thought I'd be able to like tell my dad that I'm gonna be able to bring him to Hawaii. But yeah, that's super amazing. So I'm taking my dad with me, which is great. I'm more proud of that than anything, I think. The
Yeah.
fact I'm able to take him with me and like he doesn't have to worry about anything. Just something I could do for him. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward to just kind of playing also against like a more international community. I played plenty of people from like the Americas, and I got lucky enough to be able to play some other people internationally, NAIC, but I'm really excited to play some of like the players from the TPC circuit because I follow those tournaments really closely. I love watching like them. I was watching the Taiwan National Championships late into the night until I passed out like in like top 16. So yeah, I'm really excited to play some of those players because I'm sure we're gonna have some surprises from the TPC circuit, players we've never heard of. Like, I've never heard of Shohei before last year, so I'm excited to see who's the next player out of those circuits that you don't really get to see in our TPCI circuit that does really well. And I'm excited to be able to play some of those people as well.
I love it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think Worlds is going to be a super super fun experience, and it's amazing to hear that you're going to be able to take your dad there as well. It's I
Yeah.
don't know, for me one of the biggest reasons why I love VGC is the ability to have that, right? Ability to do that,
Mhm.
and it definitely changed my life growing up as well. And so, yeah, as we kind of take a step back and just look at the overall experience, what has this journey been like for you? What yeah, instantly catapult to superstardom. You win this major tournament. How are you feeling?
Um, I guess like obviously grateful. I feel really grateful, but I think for me, I'm just trying to like figure out what happens after this, and
Yeah,
also trying to feel like not like a fraud, if that makes sense. Like 'cause it feels like almost a bit surreal, like to win something like this. Because I played against all these players that I saw as top players, and I don't want to call myself a top player, but I like, I know other people see me as that now, and that's super weird. That's really odd. I didn't ever I didn't expect that to happen. So I think just trying to I want to make sure I maintain my same mentality. I want to make sure that I always keep my perspective and make sure I always understand that despite winning this, I'm probably going to have like my worst performance of a lifetime at another tournament, and that's okay. That's okay. It's more than fine. So just tempering expectations and also being proud of what I did, feeling like
totally.
confident, and like I'm able to like consider myself one of those players that people look at as a top player, even if I don't like calling myself that. Is it's really cool. It's very nice. I feel very grateful. I feel grateful to have inspired a lot of people as well. I hope to have like the busiest locals ever next season. Hope to have a lot of new players coming out believing they could win it too, because I'm sure there's someone else out there who just started VGC this season that if you put in the work and you take the time to improve and you're critical but also kind to yourself, then you'll also make a great run and do well as well.
Oh, I love that. That's super, super beautiful. This is kind of taking a different direction, but one of the things I think I'm really impressed by is your ability to balance this with law school. Law school is obviously pretty demanding,
Yeah.
and I know your dad said actually on the interview was like, "Oh, Patrick is so smart. Like graduated undergrad in like 2.5 years. He's in law school right now as well." So how is that balancing it? Because I know, like, someone who is just finished grad school as well. It's not easy.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm just gonna would love to hear about how you were able to balance all of this and still able to win such a big tournament.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just planning ahead. Like
Mm,
I knew my local team was gonna have locals on like this day. So I knew I'd allocate like a Saturday towards Pokemon. So like I'd go to my local, I'd play in the local, and then I'd go back and I'd grind Showdown for that day. Or like allowing myself to play like only a few games a day. Like I was averaging like 3 or 4 games a day on Showdown, just practicing kind of routinely every single day. Like almost like, like a gym routine or any other routine you'd have. So just treating Pokemon like something that you like linearly progress on, like I said, like the gym or like school, just making sure you allocate enough time every day towards like enjoying your hobby and improving
Mm-hmm.
at your hobby, but also, allocating even more time to, your career and your future, is really important. So just time management, just making sure that I didn't like let myself go in the way I practice VGC, like not go on like 12-hour like showdown sessions and neglect my studies, or you know, playing limitless tours multiple times a week or anything like that. Just making sure that I kind of had an idea in the month, like, okay, I'm gonna let myself play this many tournaments. I'm gonna let myself play like this many games of showdown when I have time. And just kind of like being disciplined and like restrained with how I practice was a really good way to like manage my one all year. I kind of threw that all out the window whenever I had the gap between finishing my one all year and NAIC, because it was like I had a big summer break, so I grinded a lot of showdown, like hundreds of games.
Yeah.
But other than that, though, like just being consistent, like just being disciplined with your time is a skill you just have to be on top of and make sure you learn if you want to succeed in more than one thing. And that's what I tried doing with law school, is just making sure, like I said, just balancing career and fun, like my joy, my hobbies.
Amazing. Super, super good advice. Definitely can agree with that. And I feel like time management is kind of the number one thing I say to people when they ask the same thing to me. And so
Yeah.
really, really love that. So I'd love to end this with just some rapid fire, quick questions. You can just
Okay,
give
cool.
word, a
I'm
sentence,
excited.
and then some final thank yous. And then, yeah, I think we can conclude it there. But let's do some rapid fire questions if you're down.
Okay, yeah, of course, I'd love to.
All right. I'm coming up with these on the spot, so they're going to be just as
Sure.
much of a surprise to me as you. But first one is first
Okay.
Pokemon game.
First Pokemon game was Leaf.
Awesome.
So I
Favorite
started
Pokemon
really
game.
young. Okay, Black and White 2, either one.
Ooh, okay, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Favorite Pokemon to use, or favorite Pokemon non-competitively or competitively?
Um, I think that one's like a little tough. Probably Urshifu.
Nice.
Honestly, I maybe for both. I guess Urshifu and probably like Reuniclus. Reuniclus is my favorite like casual Pokemon.
Yeah,
Urshifu is like my favorite competitive Pokemon, but Urshifu is close to being my favorite Pokemon. Period.
love it.
So,
Favorite VGC player to watch?
oh my god, that's so tough. I love so many players. I'm a viewer first and foremost, so that's so tough. Um, oh, that's yeah, that one's not
You can name
good.
a couple if you want. I won't
Okay,
exclude the VGC.
obviously, I started watching like you, Aaron, like Aaron Cybertron Zhang's awesome. Wolfie, I love watching Wolfie, but who doesn't? I was really into watching Justin Birds and Ryan Haig going in
Mm,
NAIC. Like the people I saw as like the best Ice Rider players. So I really enjoyed watching their matches. I don't think I missed any of their matches in Reg
yeah,
G. And then up until Reg G, the players I probably watched the most were Factura and Tragut, Luca Tragut.
love it.
Yep.
All right. Favorite food?
Oh, this is a weird answer, but eggs.
That's a great one.
Love eggs.
Favorite hobby outside of VGC?
Weightlifting. I love weightlifting.
One of the questions I think one of my friends was asking was like, how much does Patrick bench? Because he looks like he can bench.
375. That's how much I
Woo!
can bench.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah, that's a touch and go though. For pause press I can do 360. So that's like a stop, like a pause, like if you
Amazing.
do powerlifting, that's like a thing you have to pause press, but yeah. 375 touch and go, 365 pause press.
And when did you start going to the gym?
I started working out because I played like football. I wrestled and also did like Olympic lifting in high school. So I
Wow.
did a lot of lifting in high school. So I guess probably like 10th grades when I started lifting.
That's amazing. Favorite game outside of Pokemon?
Oh, that's also tough. I'm like, I don't know. I like JRPGs. I'm currently playing through SMT Vengeance right now.
Nice.
And I love like the Persona
Oh,
series.
yeah.
So I love Persona. Just now getting into SMT, but those games are really awesome. That's a tough question. Yeah, I also love Stardew. That's my like
Mm,
basic answer. Yeah, I love Stardew Valley.
awesome. Favorite kind of music genre to listen to?
Um, I don't listen to a lot of music, but I listen to K-pop because my girlfriend got me really into it.
Oh, I love it.
And my ult is twice.
Ah, yes, yes. Oh, you're speaking. I went to see Twice literally in February in Brazil,
Yeah,
actually. So it was like
that's
life-changing
so cool.
experience.
Yeah.
Great,
Who's your
great answer.
bias?
Ooh, it kind of changes a lot, but I think Chaeyoung was like the kind of the most recent.
Really? I
Yeah,
don't hear a lot of Cham.
I know. Yeah, it's a little more
I'm Geo
edgy.
ride or
Like
die.
she
Yeah.
definitely, yeah, like I feel like kind of breaks the mold of kind of the traditional K-pop star. But
Oh, I could see that.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So that's a great answer. You're speaking right to me right now.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I think those are kind of the main rapid fire. Oh, I guess the last rapid fire question I had was what you want to do after law school. What are you interested in pursuing?
I want to be a public defender. That's like my career goal. I want to be a criminal defense attorney. So yeah, public defender specifically. I want to work for the state.
Amazing, man. And I have
Yep.
no doubt you'll accomplish that given it how it seems like you're able to just kind of set your mind to these goals and make them happen. And so
I
before
appreciate
we
that.
conclude, wanted to ask you any final thank yous that you have and final shout outs you want to give.
Okay, so I'm gonna do the same shout outs I did on stream,
Yeah.
which is my dad, my stepmom Ginger, my siblings and their partners. So Daniel, Bria, Katie, Leroy, Sean, Donovan, my best friends Colby, Logan, Rhett, and my girlfriend Anabi, and also like my uncle and aunt, my uncle Ryan and my aunt Karen. I love you guys. You guys are my biggest supporters. Wouldn't trade you guys for anything.
Amazing, man. Patrick, thank you so much for joining me. This was such a pleasure to do. And I honestly learned a lot from you just hearing about your preparation process and kind of your journey through VGC. So I know you've inspired so many people, including myself, and I'm eager to see, what you continue to do in VGC. But congratulations on such an amazing accomplishment and can't wait to see what you're able to do in the future. And thanks again for joining me.
Thank you, Aaron. I really appreciate the opportunity to share my story.
All right. Well, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time. Peace.